Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for giving us your time to cover strategic marketing that fills care homes. I'm really excited to do this. We've packed in a lot of content, and just to mention, we are recording this and we'll share the slides afterwards. So yeah, let's crack on then. So let's go on to the first slide. So lovely to meet you. I have met some of you before, so thank you for joining. But for those of you who are new today, I'm Ali Powell. I specialize in boosting people's occupancies, particularly in the care home sector, later living, and hotels. And I, have my expertise in sales, marketing, and customer experience. And if you'd like to see any more, I just had a link to my website, and we'll follow up afterwards as well with an email. So yeah, I'm absolutely very passionate about the care home sector, where we're going to particularly focus on. We've all had our, own personal experiences as well, and that really propelled me to specialize in this area and make the customer experience from someone looking for a care home to purchasing it and moving in as smooth as and customer friendly as possible. So let's set the scene here about the cost of empty beds. Well, cost of empty beds has a massive impact financially. We can see that on average occupancy, if it's about 80%, well, that's potentially 20% of revenue lost week after week. Each empty bed, depends which average you take from different market intelligence sources. If we said it was 1,300 per week on average, if you multiply that by the number of weeks in the year, and then say you have 6 empty beds, well, that's absolutely enormous. It stacks up straight away to the amount of potential revenue lost, keeping leaving money on the table. And if you sort of take a 30% EBITDA conversion, it's really significant money that can be made when we make sure that we don't have empty beds. And then another sort of thing happening is that the consumer is changing. We know that customers now, they're searching for more competitors, perhaps 3 or 5 before, and they're looking for really a connection. It's all about this emotional, personal connection. And that's what we're demonstrating here. We're not selling just rooms, we're selling a whole experience. And also, customers' expectations have gone more demanding in terms of the speed of response, whether that's responding back to a phone call or other inquiries. And the reality for many care homes, I mean, I put thunderbolts here because it is quite challenging, if we're honest. There's all these sorts of issues that operators tell us all the time. So we've got inquiry volumes that can be inconsistent, so not getting enough leads as we want, a constant need to reshift the balance and get more private, permanent residents. Conversion rates can be low. We have tons of benchmark data because we're going around operators doing this all the time. But if we take a typical conversion rate of 10% from lead to move-in, that's really tough, the amount of leads we need to generate. And competition is intensifying, getting more and more fierce. So this creates sort of a lot of pressure for people to fill beds that keeps them up at night. So let's talk about the problem here, and then we're going to solve it with strategic marketing, which is a real growth engine. So let's reframe marketing. So unfortunately, there are some people out there that would think this is a perception of marketing. Is it just the coloring in team? Is it soft? Is it fluffy stuff? Is it just logos and leaflets? Is it maybe just a nice to have? And it actually doesn't really impact on revenue. Well, it's absolutely not the case. I'm obviously huge passionate about the power of marketing, and it's really the growth engine. It's about the people that we serve. It's the customer. It's about really great targeted lead generation, which translates into revenue and occupancy acceleration. And that ultimately drives our EBITDA. So let's now get into one of the biggest issues in care homes, which is about not having enough of a consistent volume of lead generation. So what we mean by quality leads is those who are really relevant in terms of customers who want to be moving in with us. So not quality lead would be, for instance, a recruitment query. So this question I'd like to ask, just to throw it open to make this a bit more interactive, please, is how many leads, quality leads, do you think we need on average to fill our care homes? So per month, is it 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 25? Please just sort of jot some thoughts down in the comments, please. Do you think it's D? Do you think it's we need a lot a month? We need 20 to 25? Is it 10 to 20? I'm just going to pause there to let some people interact if you'd like to. Okay, I'll just ask one of my ladies. Jem, any
So we get really
popular
big
response?
of C and D's.
Seeing, yes, well, absolutely perfect. So yes, it is actually on average more D, 20 to, I can't speak English, sorry, 20 to 25. That's the average if you look
Beck
across
also
different.
added as well on that. I think we need more as someone convert, which I think she's got a good point with that.
Yeah, totally. So yes, if we had better conversions rate, we wouldn't need as many leads. So let's just look into a quick example here, and anything I mention on my video today, if you want these tools, please just reach out afterwards and ask me. This is a tool called a lead calculator, so we could easily tailor that to you, where I usually put in different inputs to basically tell me how many leads a month we need. So this is just a quick example. If we had 60 beds in our care home and we wanted a target occupancy, which most people want, of 95%, then we would look at what's the average length of stay, so the customer lifetime value. For here, we put, 2 years. Yes, it can be 7 years, 9 years. And then we look at the vacancies per month. So if we have that transition happening, what is the vacancies per month? 2.5. And then working that through, that would be a conversion rate from lead to move in. If our conversion rate, which we're hopefully tracking in our CRM systems, was 10%, then that would mean we need 25 leads a month. So we can play around with those levers depending on your specific situation. And to that lady's point, if we had a much higher conversion rate, which would be amazing, we wouldn't need as many leads. But that's just a typical way which tallies up to why you'll usually hear this input that we need about 20 to 30 leads per month to keep filling up our homes consistently. So if we then look at, well, how could we reduce the number of leads? Because we don't want a cost per acquisition per lead. We ultimately want to just have great quality leads that convert into residents. There's many levers that are in our control that we can improve. So we can improve the inquiry to visit. So there's two different conversions, obviously. There's the lead to the visit, and if we got that conversion up, it would be significantly impactful. Then there's the visit to the move-in. So what happens after the show round? Then there's also reducing the dependency on respite. So having more permanent residents would positively impact that. If we were able to build more trust, I'm on the bottom row now, that also makes sure we have much stronger emotional connection with our residents throughout. So that can reduce the number of leads needed. Fifthly, if we track what's working and what's not, we can optimize our channels to just focus and prioritize where we need. And then a big passion area of mine, which we'll come on to as well, is not missing opportunities. So when people are searching for us, are we meeting them where they are? So what if it is 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday? Do we have a process in place? This is a huge missed opportunity area for many operators. So it all begins marketing with putting the customer at the heart of everything and really having clarity of, well, who is our target customer and what do they want from the minute they're looking for us in the customer journey, known as the awareness stage, through to the consideration, the phone call, the visit, and then ultimately, hopefully moving in. So let's deep dive a bit onto the customer. So knowledge of the customer is absolutely critical for all of our marketing applications. So we can see there we've put a real target in the center, the customer. When we're very clear on who the customer is, all these other areas of marketing come from that. So the messaging would totally relate to, well, what does the customer want? Our specific customer, what's their needs and what's their wants? Another example, the content. Our content plan would be very much about the messages that our potential customers want to hear about. And we know the customer for care homes, the target customer is usually an elder daughter or son around, let's say, 55, 60 years old. And then you've got the potential resident as well as more the end user. So for great marketing strategy, we have clarity first and foremost about who is our customer. So if we deep dive into this now, because care home marketing is a very specific specialist knowledge area, as we know, we need to really get under the skin of thinking about the customer. And here shows a good bridge diagram about the emotional journey that people are on and how we in marketing want to be their guide to get them over the bridge. So beforehand, people are perhaps feeling these nervous feelings of fear and anxiety, guilty about, oh, should I be looking after mum myself at home? And then through the power of marketing, we're going to build trust and connection so that they'll much more happily and smoothly come forward with us to move in because we've shown them that they can trust us and it's a wonderful place to be. So how do we build trust? Well, a major factor in care homes is about this emotional connection. You know, that balance of emotional versus rational, we know skews really heavily to the emotional side of decision making. And a lot of that is done through empathy and active listening. So that top diagram there is about empathy. It's about really putting yourself in the customer's shoes to be thinking, what would they be feeling at this moment? What are those feelings, their needs, their wants, and how do I therefore communicate with them in the appropriate way? So we do that by doing segmentation, and hopefully many of you on the call will have your segmentation, where you look at the different types of customers that are staying with you, and then you create what's called personas. So this is an example of I just made a fake one up here, a lady called Sarah. And what personas do is help you get really deep into being able to understand who your target customer is. So maybe this lady, Sarah, is a senior HR manager. Well, what's her lifestyles and interests? What's her motivations and objectives and her key concerns? So we would create a few of these personas together to make sure that our messaging will speak to this in marketing when we're communicating. And then we would like to make sure that all of these different touch points speak to the persona. So we know there's different stages of the journey in marketing. There's the awareness stage where someone's just finding out about you in the first place. And then there's the consideration. So maybe then they're going to come in for an event, an open day. And then maybe they'll have a second visit. And then we move through to hopefully them having a decision to become a resident with us or move their mum or dad in. And then they'd hopefully stay with us and be an advocate. So we're going to talk about the customer journey a lot because this is all of marketing and sales, is this end-to-end journey that we need to constantly match up to who our customer is. So let's think about now, well, if we are clear on our customer, which let's say now we are, that we've mapped out who our customer is, what then do we do in terms of the channels that they use and the messages that work for them? Well, in marketing, we have a model called STP, which is just like an acronym for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So this is how we would look to develop the right strategy for which marketing channels do we use, and then which messaging resonates with the people. So firstly, we would be clear on who our segmentation is. So I just put some examples up there. We have, as we know, the actual resident, and then we have the influencers. So like daughters, sons, grandchildren. Then we need to think about, well, which channel do we target them on? I mean, in marketing, there's about 20 different lead generation channels. I've just put some of them on the board there. Like there's the actual website, there's paid search, there's direct mail. We don't want some scattergun approach where we're just sort of shooting into the wind, hoping. We want to really be featuring where our target customer are hanging out. So we want to pick the channels that they use. And when you have your segmentation, there are certain tools like CACI and Mosaic and Acorn that you can overlay to give you great insight on what your customer is doing. So what TV programs are they listening to? What radio do they listen to? What magazines? What supermarket do they shop at? Is it Waitrose? Is it Lidl? You can overlay segmentation to find more about what channels are working both online and offline. And you can see that there's so many that you want to be very hyper targeted so that you don't waste money. And then for the targeting stage as well, we want to use the channels that engage customers with where they are. So at the top of the funnel in marketing, we have the awareness stage. And there we might use channels such as social media, where you're just constantly in people's, let's say, Facebook accounts, showing them great events that you have going on, just giving them awareness about, well, what do we mean by the care home sector? What is it generally like to live at a care home? Whereas down the funnel more, where they're getting more serious about wanting to move in, we might use different means. So for instance, if someone has we call it high intent in marketing, so really keen to be moving in with us, and they're maybe searching in Google, find a care home near me, care home near Brighton, care home near, wherever specific address. That's much more further down the funnel that we might choose a channel that's very relevant for that and very high converting, such as Google pay-per-click ads. So I would sort of ask you all to be reflecting on, do you know what your top generating lead channels are? Have you got the data on that? Hopefully every month you're analyzing your 20 or 30 leads and saying, well, where do they really come from a volume point of view? But then more importantly, where are they highest converting? So this brings us into, so what do we mean by a conversion? Is when someone inquires with us, that's an inquiry, but what we actually ultimately need them to do is move down the funnel to move in with us. So let's just put another sort of poll there, please, about anyone who would like to interact and say, can you guess at what the number one highest converting channel is in care home marketing? So is it Facebook ads? Is it, Google PPC, signage? What could it be? Just anyone wants to sort of throw something into the ring.
Quite a few people have put word of mouth.
Yes, brilliant. So absolutely. So with word of mouth, it is an excellent channel. I mean, depending which source you say, some people would say it's got a 25% conversion amount, which is enormous. Some people would say higher in terms of 40%. So yeah, the community, the referrals, the positive word of mouth, that is a really brilliant channel because it's really likelihood that if someone refers you, whether it's from a community networking or a customer or even a staff member referral, that has a really strong conversion. And also the great thing about this channel is it's relatively free, right? Just getting out there, networking. So it's a really great channel in terms of high conversion. And it's one, as I go around different operators, it's not maximized. Most people find it quite a controversial topic in terms of, well, whose role is it? And so we need to sort of work that through based on the internal team structure. And it is a really, really great channel to sort out. So in terms of just this theme of high converting channels, I've put some on here. I've called out in green. That was that community networking one. But there's other channels in terms of as you're thinking, well, where do I spend my marketing? I want to be the most efficient and have the highest ROI as possible. So the statistics would say that Google search PPC can have a strong conversion, sometimes of 8%. And online directories, whether that's Lottie, Autonoma, carehome.co.uk, they also statistically show that they can convert well. So it's definitely a factor as we're thinking about marketing is where do I get my leads from? What is the highest converting channels? And other ones I've put up here as well. I always recommend that we have presence in these because they serve different purposes. You know, direct mail, I've just got something through the post today, you know, is great for being a hook to invite people to events. Facebook ads, a different sort of channel. The, you know, website is an excellent channel that we need to constantly optimize. And we'll talk about that one more in a bit. So just to finish off the STP, we've looked at, we need to firstly start with clarity on our who of our customers. Then we decide, well, which channels are the most efficient for them. And then now we come into messaging about, well, what do we say to them? We can get direct mail or any marketing collateral through the post like I did this morning, but then it can just land flat because the messaging is wrong or the images is wrong. So messaging that does work is thinking about, well, what do we do here and what do we avoid? So leading with empathy, showing you understand the emotional weight of the decision, sharing real stories, testimonials, communicating your ethos, your values, and using calls to actions that sort of show this human connection rather than use more sort of clinical or corporate language. And what we don't want to do is use, you know, acronyms or corporate language, use just a lot of vanilla claims, and also just lead with features. Whereas, as we say, we definitely want to be more making human connections and showing that this is emotional and it's about experiences rather than facilities. So excellent sources to showcase great messaging is resident stories. I've put a few up there. You can have videos and you can have written resident stories, just the amazing advocates saying how much they love living here. You can have reviews. I mean, Google reviews is really important for SEO and getting up organically the ranking. So that's a brilliant source. And then also serving people the questions that they have and the answers to those through different marketing collateral, such as resources on your website. So blogs, guides, we've just called some out here. You know, paying to live in a care home. What's that about? Activities, cost of care calculator. These are all really useful content to share with people to build that trust and transparency. And finally, I wanted to talk about what happens between this great harmony of marketing and sales. You can often get leads, but then they don't convert into move-in. And consistency is what transforms average into excellent. So all the time I'm looking at where are the leaks in the bucket. And here I just did an example of many different leaks that happen for a multiple of reasons. And these are all within our control to change. So I would encourage you to audit yourself, do mystery shopping. I do lots of it all the time to see where can we fix and plug the gap. And if I want to pull out some of the most popular ones that I come across that are very easy fixes, it would be your website, checking that there aren't any like broken links. If you click on somewhere, does it go where it's supposed to go? Has it got enough call to action, trying to entice people to come in? Then bad first impressions can really ruin things. So, you know, looking at from the moment someone's driving in, that sense of arrival being amazing, the reception being beautiful, the car park being clean and welcoming and people smiling. That's incredibly important, the first 7 seconds. Phones not being answered, that, you know, is really unfortunate when the leads just leak away. tours that are more about sort of just features and real estate, that can also cause a lot of people to drop off. And you can see many others I've put here. Lack of follow-up, that's enormous. Slow response times, and not having enough leads in the first place. So I've packed in a lot here. Final thoughts are create content for every stage. So thinking about where the customers are and have we got the right content serving where they are. Um, you know, empathy just being absolute massive at every touch point. Are we writing and communicating in a way that shows that we're on the same page as someone? Making sure our marketing converts, so walking that customer journey all the time. I would encourage you to score it out of 5 and see how good is it, how good are the calls, the follow up, and then measuring your metrics and tweaking accordingly. So thank you very much. I said I have other occasions coming up. We've got webinars coming up in September the 8th. And I'm always available and happy to chat with you about your specific questions. So email me, drop me a line, give me a call.